All right, I know learning a bunch of new words can feel like a huge challenge, but trust me, we're going to make this simple and, dare I say, fun. We're going to master 25 important words by putting them in little groups that make sense together. So, to start, let's dive into some really intense words about attacking and disapproving. So, for our first theme, we're tackling words that cover some pretty negative actions and feelings. We'll look at how people might attack each other or just show that they really don't like something. It's a powerful place to start for sure. There's more than one way to attack someone, right? You can do it physically with actions, or you can do it with words that are meant to hurt. Let's look at a key word for each of these ideas. Okay, first up, we have the word assail. This means to attack someone really strongly. And here's the important part. It can be a physical attack, like soldiers attacking a fort, or it can be a really strong verbal attack, using words or ideas. The main thing to remember is that feeling of force and intensity. And check this out, this word is super flexible. In that first sentence, a lawyer can assail a story just using words. Then you see the classic physical attack, soldiers assail a fort. But look at the last one. Even doubts can assail your mind. It's all about that strong, overwhelming kind of attack. Next up, we have aspersion. Now, this one is all about the words. An aspersion is basically a lie or a really mean comment that's designed to ruin someone's reputation. Think of it like throwing verbal mud on someone's good name to make them look bad. So a key phrase you'll often hear is that you cast aspersions. You can see that in the first example. It just means you're saying bad, untrue things about a person. And the second sentence really highlights that. An aspersion is a nasty, false rumor. Okay, let's switch gears a little bit. We're moving from direct attacks to just showing disapproval. And sometimes you don't even need words, right? A look can say it all. So we're going to compare words for negative looks and some for negative comments. This table breaks down 4 different shades of dislike. First, askance. That's that suspicious, sideways glance you give when you don't quite trust something. Baleful is way stronger. It's an evil, threatening look, like a villain in a movie. Then, astringent moves from looks to words. It describes comments that are really harsh and severe. And finally, aversion isn't a look or a word. It's just a deep, powerful feeling of hate or dislike for something. All right, enough with all that negativity. Let's completely flip the script and change the mood. Our next group of words is all about the good stuff, helping people, giving them support, and making them feel safe. Let's imagine you want to help someone. Think of it like a 4-step process. First, you could give them asylum. That's a safe place, a sanctuary. Then you could be an auxiliary, which is just a fancy word for an extra helper. If what you're doing is actually useful, we say it is of avail. And if you do all this with tons of energy and passion, well then you are an avid or super enthusiastic supporter. Okay, now for a situation we can all relate to. Everybody makes mistakes. It happens. But what really matters is what you do after you mess up. So, how do you go about fixing it? And these next 2 words, they are a perfect pair for fixing those mistakes. First, you have to atone for what you did. That means you do something good to make things right. And when you give a real, sincere apology, your words can act as a balm. A balm is anything that soothes or heals, kind of like putting lotion on a sunburn. Okay, for our third group, we're getting into the exciting stuff. Words all about big, important events. We'll talk about how we predict them, celebrate them, and all the attention they can get. I love this slide because it basically tells a whole story. Before the event, you might see something that can augur or predict what's coming. The event itself might be held under the auspices or sponsorship of a big organization. Maybe an august, that means majestic and awe-inspiring, person shows up. The party could get a little crazy and turn into a bacchanal, which is a wild party. And afterward, the whole thing gets a ton of ballyhoo or sensational promotion in the news.
Our fourth theme is a real classic contrast. Doing something versus doing nothing. We're going to explore words for taking action and words for stopping it. This is a really useful group of words to know. So first, let's focus on the doing words. These 3 words might seem kind of similar at first glance, but they actually describe 3 very different kinds of actions. Let's break them down.
So what's the difference between these 3? Think of it like this. First, you assert your opinion. You just state it confidently. Then you might attest to the facts, meaning you provide proof that what you said is true. And finally, you assess the situation. You evaluate it, you judge its value. So you state it, prove it, and then evaluate it. And now for the flip side, words for stopping an action. One is about preventing something else from happening, and the other is about you yourself refusing to do something. Now, this difference is so important. You avert an external thing, like an accident. You stop it from happening. But you balk when you personally refuse to move forward, like that horse that just won't jump the fence. So one is about stopping the world, and the other is about stopping yourself. And what happens when there's too much in action? You get atrophy. It's simple. If you don't use your muscles, they will atrophy or waste away. The same thing happens with skills. If you don't practice speaking a language, your ability can atrophy. The easiest way to remember this one is just use it or lose it. Okay, we're on the home stretch. In our final section, we're going to look at two words that both describe how people talk to each other. They both involve an exchange of words, but the feeling behind them is totally different. This is such a great pair of words to know. When you bandy words, it's usually negative. Think of people trading insults back and forth in a heated argument. But banter is friendly. It's playful. It's fun teasing between friends. So the tone is everything here. Just look at these examples. You can really feel the difference. You bandy insults in a fight, but the second sentence talks about friendly banter to show it's lighthearted. And that last one is a warning. Don't toss my name around in your arguments. It just shows how bandy is for conflict and banter is for fun. And there you have it, 25 brand new words in your vocabulary. So the big question is, what are you going to do with them? Will you avail yourself of this new knowledge? Maybe start some friendly banter with your friends. Or will you go out there and confidently assert your great ideas? The choice is all yours.